Back in 2012, Films of Remembrance was born because there were some films being made about the wartime incarceration, but not really any venue to show them. Some of the Asian American film festivals were not showing these types of films at the time, and we just wanted to provide a venue for filmmakers to get their work out. It started as a supplement to the San Francisco Day of Remembrance, which would be held the day before President's Day. And so we used, the first couple of years, we used the President's Day holiday, the day after Day of Remembrance, to show a series of films. And it started out pretty modestly. We started at the Union Bank Community Room, room built to fit 40, 50 people. And then, some Asian American Studies classes came and somehow we crammed 90 people at some times. And it was a free event. Next year we went to the Nihonmachi Little Friends Tateuchi auditorium, and we showed some films there. And then in 2014 is when it really began to expand, and we held it at New People's Cinema, which was a nice venue in San Francisco, Japantown. And in 2017, in the wake of the election of Trump, Day of Remembrance programs all over the country were getting larger and larger audiences. And for Films of Remembrance, it was no exception. We started to sell out programs. That year, we had, in particular, some great narrative shorts made by descendants of the camps, which is nice to see children or grandchildren, great-grandchildren of former incarcerees create films to honor their ancestors. So Films of Remembrance, where Day of Remembrance was a means to get people into the door to learn and talk about the wartime incarceration, Films of Remembrance took a deeper dive because it looked at specific subjects rarely known of before, like the wartime incarceration in Hawaii, the incarceration and relocation of people in Canada. We showed a number of Japanese-Canadian films. So I'm really proud that we've been able to show something like 80, 90 films over these years. And in addition, we collaborated with the Sacramento Asian Pacific Film Festival and had a Films of Remembrance encore as part of their festival in 2017. In 2019, we brought Films of Remembrance to New York City for the first time out of California. So we brought programming out there. And in 2020, for the first time, we brought Films of Remembrance not only in San Francisco, Japantown, which is our base, but we also added a second day in San Jose's Japantown as a fundraiser for the San Jose Betsuan Buddhist Church. The year after that, 2021, because of the pandemic, we went virtual. We had like a best of 35 films the first 10 years. It was our 10th anniversary. Plus, we had a screening the only way we could. We had a drive-in presentation of the 45th anniversary of Farewell to Manzanar, the iconic landmark film that was broadcast by NBC in 1976. So during the middle of a pandemic, we had a bunch of cars out there watching a classic movie. Many people went to the drive-in for the first time or the first time in years since their youth. So Films of Remembrance in the future, we did get a grant from Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation to create a more permanent online streaming site. So we're planning to put a lot of the films that we've shown in the past, as well as classics that are no longer readily accessible, and create a streaming site so that anyone around the world can watch these films. A one-stop shop of films on the wartime incarceration. Films of Remembrance has evolved. This year we have 13 films and up to 3 online additional films, and where we're continuing this tradition of doing Films of Remembrance on a Saturday, February 25th in San Francisco. We're also adding the second day and Sunday, February 26th in San Jose, Betsuan. And the San Jose component, we want to give back and build community, support our community. So we're splitting some proceeds with the San Jose Buddhist Church Betsuan, as well as the Japanese American Museum of San Jose. And so we've always been a small organization, so we learn to collaborate with other organizations, and this is a perfect way to collaborate and support other nonprofits as well. This year, in person, we have 13 films. We're We have in our Films of Resistance program, we have a film by Brian Maeda called We Said No No that looks at the once marginalized resistance at Tule Lake. We love being able to give voice to both news stories and groups of people who have been marginalized over the years. In our Rediscovering History program, we have 80 Years Later. We have Resettlement Chicago story, which is a short narrative on a resettlement of Japanese Americans who came out of the camps in Chicago. And we have Shikata ga Nai, which is a dramatic short with a LGBTQ focus. And rooted in history, we have Amachi Rose, which deals with the Amachi concentration camp, where my family had roots. Hakone Gardens and the Executive Order 9066, looking at those Japanese Americans who were connected to the Hakone Gardens in Saratoga and what became of the gardens during the war. And Sonzai, which takes a look at the lost Japantown in Santa Barbara and what became of it after people were incarcerated and came back, and trying to dig into that past history. In the art of activism, we have a couple of inspiring films that deal with movements. One was Stamp Our Story, about the movement led by 3 Nisei women to get the Nisei soldier on a stamp, which was successful. And we also have Honor, Recognition, and Respect that deals with Santa Clara County Judge Johnny Gogo and his movement to get former incarcerees to sign the 48-star flag, which has taken him across the country, and I think now has 8 flags full of names. We also have Point of Departure, which talks about the art installation at Bainbridge Island, the first group of Japanese Americans to be evicted from camp, and that movement to create that art. And then Those Who Helped Us, which is a pretty innovative animation based upon a graphic novel that was done by folks in Seattle to depict those who helped Japanese Americans. And lastly, Untold Stories there's a couple of films there. Before They Take Us Away by Antonia Grace Glenn. That takes a look at the little-known story of volunteer relocatees who went to inland before the camps, before Japanese Americans were ordered to forcibly relocate, and the struggles that they faced. And many times they had to deal with poverty and racism, discrimination on their own. And then we also have When You Leave, which is a nice short dramatic film on a young Nisei who leaves camp to work in the farms and the racism and prejudice that he faced there, and how that impacted his desire not to leave the camp. But we have some great dramatic shorts made by young filmmakers. Really inspiring to see their work in documenting this experience. For the first time, we had probably 24 submissions, and we've had to not include a lot of them, and that's unfortunate. But we can only have so much. With our limited time, we have 5 programs throughout the day, and we repeat it in San Jose so that the South Bay community also has an opportunity to watch the films. Films of Remembrance has become, I look at it as a vehicle to empower filmmakers who tell our stories. We try to make it, put the filmmakers in central focus, so we fly filmmakers from across the country. We're able to do so with a generous grant from the California Civil Liberties Public Education Program, administered by the California State Library, as well as many sponsors. And we're very honored to have this opportunity to showcase these films with the broader public. This year, in addition to 2 in-person venues in San Jose and San Francisco, Japantown, we are continuing online streaming so that anyone around the world can watch these films. So the website is www.filmsofremembrance.org, and you can find various viewing options at your disposal.